What would you say, DJ, is more painful? When you were in your prime and we would go like all out crazy during March Madness, like 3, 4 straight days of drinking, that last final hangover, or getting absolutely just disintegrated by Donovan Smith like Marcus Peters did as he crossed the end zone last Sunday?
My Ethiopian will live in infamy. My Ethiopian hangover will live in infamy, and it was the worst 2 days of my entire life. That was death.
But how do you think Marcus Peters feels that next day? I literally like watching that live. He was gone. He vanished. It was a magic
Nowhere,
trick.
nowhere near as bad as I felt after the Ethiopian weekend. Because he doesn't even have a fucking prayer against me.
Let's get loaded. I did that all wrong. DJ, welcome to the Loaded Box Podcast.
Where we never finish first, because we finish last.
Oh, welcome back to the Loaded Box Podcast. I am Ben Morgan. That is DJ Primo. We are back. It's NFL Week 5. DJ, a quarter of the season is already in the books. Where the hell did it go?
Don't talk like that. I don't want to hear that talk. Go fuck yourself.
You know what? So if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see I went back to a Dolphins jersey, but I had to break out a Dan Marino jersey because I don't have any of their current players anymore. Like so many things fell apart here. I'm so pumped for 2020. Like I'm ready for the season to be done.
Like even if you buy a current Dolphins jersey, there's almost zero chance he's on the team next year.
Oh, that's a guarantee. That's why I'm waiting till Tua is like 3 years deep with the Dolphins before even considering that purchase.
You should just create your own Tua shirt right now and say fuck
it. Oh, that's great. Well, like I said, this is the Week 5 fantasy football preview. We're talking daily fantasy stacks, bargain, must-use guys, general advice. Plus, DJ, I think I told you this in a text message yesterday. I said that this is the most confident that I have felt in a daily fantasy sports lineup literally since I've been playing daily fantasy sports. I'm so pumped about this lineup. I'm going to try to get it and do as many contests as possible. And I'm just going to try to win as much money as possible here and just have that bankroll. This is the most confident I've ever been, and I'm going to reveal my picks once again by making you guess as we play Who Am I? So I hope you are studied, prepared, and just ready to roll.
Here's what I know. I know anytime you've been confident in your picks, you've had a terrible, terrible daily fantasy weeks. Number two, I am maybe the hottest daily fantasy picker that doesn't get paid and gets the cheap analytics there is. In 3 out of the last 4 weeks, I have cashed in the biggest tournament in daily fantasy there is. I just keep cashing in them. I keep making money on it. I can't stop. Listen to my picks, make money.
Do you want to know how you can make it like a 4th consecutive week?
I'm not doing your lineup.
Thanks for stealing my joke. All right, so your strategy during this podcast is the bargain plays. So you want to lead it off with your bargain quarterback?
Watch like my bargain plays and be like the exact cheap guys you have, and then the guys you use are going to be guys I use in my lineup, and it's going to be a terrible. Anytime that's ever happened, it's been terrible for both of us.
That's true.
All right, so my bargain quarterback for this week, I love this pick. I'm ecstatic about this pick. I'm going Kirk Cousins, 6,800s at the New York Giants. Look, the Giants are 25th against the pass. They're not good, but Kirk Cousins has been insulted. He's been battered. He's been beaten.
He's been assaulted.
And it's not even by the fans. It's by Adam Thielen. It's by Stephon Diggs. They hate him. They're beating the shit out of him. But guess what? This is a non-primetime game. This is a 2-2 New York Giants, so not above 500 game. This is where Kirk Cousins shines when nobody's watching. He puts up, 350, 400 passing yards, probably 2-3 touchdowns. Diggs and Kirk Cousins will both be involved. I know Diggs putting out weird fucking tweets with the eyes and no mouth emojis. That's obviously a game that he's just playing with everybody because he sees people talking about it anyways. Kirk Cousins is about to go off on the Giants. They'll probably win by a decent amount, so hopefully they don't pull away too fast and they pull back on him. But I think they're going to want to throw the ball with him there just to prove that he can throw the ball after he's been insulted. So it should be a bust out week for Kirk Cousins. This will be, one good game out of a bunch of bad games coming up.
I can't hate on the pick. So while I agree with you, let me just do the devil's advocate thing for a second here. He is averaging less than 12 fantasy points per game. He has scored under double digits. That's a lot to say. Twice already this year. The team, like you said, it's kind of like in shambles right now. You've got Thielen talking trash. You've got the whole tweets or the Instagram stuff by Stephon Diggs. It's just like they're not that bad of a team. They lost. They got basically shut out, and they got not shut out, but they got really just worked by the Bears, who we could all just agree upon is the best defense right now in the league. Total overreaction. That's why I hate when people overreact so much to 1 week. But if I want to do the devil's advocate thing here, the biggest argument against your pick would be, dude, score 15 or more points. What the hell's going on? You're a quarter of the way through the season. You haven't scored 15 fantasy points in a single game.
What better week to do it than the New York Giants defense?
The Dolphins and the Bengals.
They'll win this game.
I can't hate on it. So are you ready for my quarterback?
I guess.
All right, DJ. Like I said, we're doing the guessing game. Who am I? So if you're playing along at home, crack a beer, play along with us. Let's see if you get these. If you're new to the podcast, I give DJ 3 hints. He gets to have a guess after each one if he wants it. And we go from there. We see if he can guess the guys that I'm talking about. All right, clue number 1, DJ. After starting the season with 3 straight 20-plus fantasy point games, I recorded a season-low 4.7 fantasy points last week.
Is it Dak Prescott?
It is not Dak Prescott. 0 for 1. Clue number 2. This week, I get to play an 0-4 team that ranks 18th against the pass and 26th in overall defense.
Russell Wilson.
0 for 2. DJ, what's going on here?
I don't know. I can't remember what Russell did last week.
All right,
he had
all
a
right.
good week. Never mind.
Clue number 3. You're going to get this one. I have a feeling you might get this one. Clue number 3 is, I am famous for open mouth kissing my children.
So he was going to be on my bargain list, but he was like 7,600 or something, if I remember correctly. Yep. So that's not much of a bargain. It's Tom Brady.
Yeah, and like you said, this week FanDuel $7,600. I'm trying to see where that ranks because, like you said, it's not like an all-out bargain. He's outside of the top 7 though. He's tied with the likes of Jameis Winston. But here it is, man. I just gave you those stats on Tom Brady. He was not that he was crushing it prior to last week, but he was having a really good year. 25 points, 24 points, 20 points, and then he had that clunker last week. But I think a lot of us, we saw that coming. It was the Bills. If they have a strength, it was their defense. It was a road game. He's going to have one of those every once in a while. He's 107 years old. That shit's going to happen. But guess what? It's not going to happen 2 weeks in a row, and it's definitely not going to happen 2 weeks in a row when you get to play the R words. There's zero chance. I saw the list. I'm going through it. Quarterback's usually one of the top things I pick. I want to usually try to find a bargain, but if I can't, I'll just work my way back up and find the next, the most expensive, the least expensive of the most expensive, if that makes sense. I got to Brady and was like, I need to look no further. I'm all in. He might only play a legit half of this game, and he'll probably put up 20 plus points.
I mean, two of the worst franchises, in the history of football are happening right now. I don't even care about the Browns. At least they have good fans, decent ownership. Nobody hated the people running from the top down. The Dolphins and the Redskins are maybe the most hated by their own fans.
Oh, yeah.
Franchises from the executives all the way down. It's just a fucking hot mess. Redskins their owner, they're basically the New York Knicks of football, right?
Yeah.
So nobody wants Dan Snyder there. The Dolphins are similar. Everything is a disaster. It's you all need new owners, new GMs, everything. It needs to, everybody, it's you should be trading players, you should be trading owners and GMs. It's a disaster.
The beautiful thing is, especially with the Dolphins, is no one's showing up to the game. So yeah, they increased beer prices.
There's no way. I don't know if that was if everybody saw that, but it like popped up on my. I don't know if is anything trending on Twitter today because I just got a notification.
In case you're not aware of what we're talking about, there was a report that like one of the dudes got like arrested or something. 2 beers cost someone like $750 at a Dolphins game.
Yeah,
But
it was amazing.
You got to make up for it. Hey, if you fit 70,000 people in your stadium, you could sell it at $5 to $8 a piece. When you only have a handful of people, you gotta charge like $360 for a beer.
Yeah, they're trying to make up for the ticket prices they're missing. They're charging $1 million a beer.
Yes, they are. Well, let's take a peek at your bargain running back of the week.
They should just do cover charges for those tailgate videos they keep showing of the strippers dancing in everybody's faces. They could make money there.
What a great way to just supplement a tank, but by having strippers and stripper poles out in your facility in the parking lot. The only bad thing is the people aren't going to come inside. But hey, you're getting like the ticket price or the parking prices that way. It's brilliant.
I mean, it sucks for both the teams and the guys that they're not going to come inside.
No, absolutely.
I just noticed that you said that. I felt like that was the perfect spot to drop a come inside joke.
It was.
So my bargain running back is Aaron Jones, 6,800 going against the Cowboys. Now I know everybody's gonna say, "Oh, homer pick. This is a weird pick. They're playing against a good Cowboys defense, running game that's only been really successful against one game so far." This offensive line is starting to understand the scheme, starting to figure it out. They're getting better and better every week. And with Devontae likely out and Jamal Williams probably out because he died, they're going to put the onus on Aaron Jones in this game. Usually, in football games, you run the ball. Usually, like the Cowboys, they'll run the ball to keep Aaron Rodgers off the field, right? Or Redskins will run the ball to keep Tom Brady off the field. The Packers will be running the ball to keep Ezekiel Elliott off the field because that run defense is horrendous. He will also be in my lineups this week. I might just compare Aaron Jones and Zeke Elliott this week, no matter what I'm doing. They said this game will be the turning point of the Packers' run game, and you will see consistent dominant out of Jones going forward. Plus, we haven't seen the only game we've seen him consistently run the ball was against the Vikings, where he went over 100 yards and a touchdown. You've seen those 2 touchdowns he had in the
Broncos.
Broncos game, and then one last week. But you'll see a consistent run game without Williams. They'll realize, hey, why are we even using Williams as much as we were a couple weeks ago? This is the turning point right here. He'll put up 100 yards and he'll have consistent games. Where does he? I'm kind of curious. I've been wanting to look it up to see where he ranks among running backs. I'm going to look that up while you're talking.
Like in fantasy points?
Yeah.
Well, it kind of leads into what I was my take on it, because I think of Aaron Jones and I think about a guy who's like not breaking out the way we thought he would. But he against that Bears defense, who we shouldn't really be grading players against because it's almost unfair at this point, 4 fantasy points. Since then, though, he had that big game against the Vikings, 23 points. The last 2 weeks, he's had like 15 points both of those weeks. And the crazy thing is, over the last 2 weeks, 23 carries, 40 yards, and has still put up 15 fantasy points a week. And a big reason why, obviously the 2 touchdowns against the Broncos 2 weeks ago. But last week, 6 catches on 7 targets, and I think that probably has a lot to do with Jamal Williams going out so early in that game. He was kind of the guy they were checking down to and in on more of the passing plays where he was actually a target for Rodgers. That kind of turned into Jones now because that's the last guy that they have left that they truly trust, in my opinion, on this team. So, yeah, if you can get him the rushing touchdown, if you can get him even like 60, 70 yards, add in another 5 catches, at $6,800 on FanDuel, you're getting 15 to 20 points. I don't mind that pick. That's all right.
I'm trying to fucking organize it, and it's pissing me off.
Well, that's not good for a podcast, DJ. So are you ready to move on, or are you going to say something?
Oh, I'll say something eventually.
Well, you have to listen to my clues, though, because I kind of involve you with my picks here.
I'll listen at all times.
All right, here's my running back, DJ. Clue number 1. Despite being widely considered one of the top running backs in the game, I haven't reached 15 fantasy points in a single game so far this season.
Oh, jeez. I'm going to go with Le'Veon Bell.
It is not Le'Veon Bell. You're now over, 1 for, I don't remember how many. Math is tough. Clue number 2. My opponent this week is fresh off allowing 176 yards on the grounds and 3 total touchdowns to running backs last week.
God, it's like I'm just trying to travel through all the games in my head right now, and I can't.
You can always pass.
I'm
Remember,
panicking.
you can
I'm
always
panicking.
you can always pass. You can keep your dignity.
Freaking out.
I think you're going to get it on this last clue, though. Ready?
Yep.
If you are a lady and you come with me to New Orleans, your chest is about to be exposed to the world.
Zeke.
I thought for sure you'd get that, saying that you were going to pair.
I've had Zeke in touchdown league too.
Oh, yeah. Here's the thing about Zeke. I said all those numbers. He really hasn't had that many great games. I actually think I might have lied on one of them. He did have 19 fantasy points against the Redskins because he had 111 yards and a touchdown. This is the craziest stat that you're going to see about Zeke. 13 points, 19 points, 15 points, about 13 or 14 points. That's what he's had over the first 4 weeks. He's never played a rushing defense that's been better than 25th. So they've been playing against these bad running defenses. But here's the thing. Packers are 26. They're right in the mix of that. But the Packers' pass defense has played so well. DJ, you probably know this. I don't know if a lot of our listeners that aren't completely like in Wisconsin like we are would know. The Packers are third right now in passing when it comes to defensively against the pass in fantasy. So it's not like you have this opportunity that Dak's had all year to spread it around, even though Zeke might be doing all right. Here's Dak spreading the ball around and taking some of Zeke's points. They're not going to be able to throw it all willy-nilly against this Packers defense. They're going to have to turn and hand it to Zeke. But guess what? That's exactly what you want to do in this game. He's expensive on FanDuel. He's $8,800. But man, I'll tell you something about my lineup here. I'm going expensive at some guys because I got a couple bargains, and I'm taking the most expensive running back here, $8,800.
Kind of dangerous. Like I said, we're probably going to be taking some of the same guys that we said already. Taking Zeke. And I don't know if I heard you. Did you say that the Packers have dropped all the way down to the 30th against the run after the last couple of games?
I had him at like 26, but yeah, it probably is.
They're fucking terrible right now, and hopefully they adjust and get better. They're getting Montrevious Adams back. That is going to help up the middle for them, but it's going to be tough. Tyron Smith is going to be out, though. That's
right.
Also another scary thing, but still, that's still their weakness. Also, Aaron Jones is ranked number 11 and hasn't had really has had one pretty good game. Otherwise, outside of that, it hasn't been anything that popped off the chart, and he's still putting up numbers. So he's going to finish top 7, as I predicted at the beginning of the season. There's no doubt in my mind.
He better. You're probably going to have to do something like really dirty, one of those bets that we have to go dig up from the past. I'm thinking about starting like a notebook and writing down all of like our bets and just outlandish things we say and actually holding us to it at one of these times.
I should look up where TJ Hawkinson ranks, since I'm supposed to eat poop if he finishes as a number 10.
Yeah, don't you have to eat like dog shit or something if Hawkinson finishes at like a top 7 tight end or something?
Oh, yeah.
You're lucky he had one of those failed hurdles and fell on his shoulder or whatever the hell he did last week, because that might help you out.
He's number 8 right now.
Well, there you go. He's probably on his way down, though, if he's dinged.
Well, if he only scores in one of every 3 games, I think I'm fine.
There you go. Well, you went with Aaron Jones as your bargain running back. Let's hear who your bargain wide receiver is.
Oh, you're going to love this bargain wide receiver. You probably have this guy on your list, too. Sometimes I think FanDuel will put somebody just down really low to see if people can pick him out. I'm going Kelvin Ridley, 5,400 at Houston. Houston is 21st against the pass. And the pass defense numbers for the Falcons, I'm actually talking about the Falcons here. They look good, but it's all just a smoke screen. They haven't played very good opponents, like Tennessee that doesn't really throw the ball. They stink to me. So there's going to be a back and forth game. I can see this game going way over. That might be one of my bets for tomorrow for Friday's release. Who knows? I don't make my decisions until we make those picks. But I could see this game being an over opportunity for us. But like I said, this should be a back and forth game. Lots of scoring. Lots of attention to Julio, as always. And Matt Ryan has one of his 3 good games the entire season. Calvin Ridley goes off. He goes off for that 20-something point game that he had in game number 1 this year.
Matt Ryan is basically like the entire version of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers over the last half decade, where they're not a very good team, but like once every like 5, 6 weeks, they just explode. And so you're kind of banking on Matt Ryan having that game, is what you're saying here, huh?
I fucking hate Matt Ryan. Hate him. I
Oh,
hate him. Let me ask you this: Are you gonna get on the train? Are you finally off of it? Are you done with Matt Ryan? Are you retired from Matt Ryan? I keep saying it. He keeps doing it. And last week you're like, oh, I'm gonna stick with him again, and he was trash again. He's so bad. Why is he so bad? I don't know why, but I'm done with him.
I have way, way, way too many fantasy shares of Austin Hooper, Julio Jones, and Calvin Ridley. DJ, I want to join you. I watched some of that game last week against the Titans. I want off that train so bad, but it's literally like someone just tied me to a chair inside. I can't get off. I'm here.
Yeah, you can get off of it though. You can hate him and just like
Trade all my fantasy guys.
Had Sean Hill and still dominate. Like you can have a shitty quarterback and have a good wide receiver still be good.
That's true. Let me bounce back to your Ridley pick here because I didn't mind the guys last week, both Julio and Ridley. Obviously, I'm starting them in my regular redraft fantasy leagues. But I knew that Titans defense, they cause problems like every other week. It seems like they've got their good games. They kind of fold every once in a while like they did against the Jaguars. All in all, though, they're a pretty solid defense. This week they get the Texans. I think we all think of the Texans as like this monster on defense sometimes because of like the players that they had. That's not as much the case anymore. I think they're only like early 20s right now against the pass. They're not this like dominating defense, so they can be had. I think I'm almost like I'm too biased here because I like Julio and I like Calvin so much that I feel like if I say, yep, they're gonna do great. They're use them again this week. I almost feel like I've talked myself into it so damn much that I don't know if I'm telling the truth or if I'm lying anymore. Like I'm at that point. Like I don't know, am I delusional? I told you that they were both gonna finish like that was gonna be the highest duo of wide receivers. And I should have done some homework on this to see what duos topping wide receivers. It's probably Godwin and Evans. So Julio and Kelvin really have to step their game up to live up to that hype. But man, that was my call for the year, so I can't go against it. DJ, I think your mute button's on.
We made a bet, and I don't know what it was, about Calvin Ridley being in the top 20. I don't remember what it was.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's definitely Mike Evans and Chris Godwin because I know they're number 4 and 5 amongst wide receivers. They're right next. They're back to back. Did you hear about Mike Evans in those first 2 weeks? What was ailing him?
What was that?
They said he had a debilitating like stomach bug for the first 2 weeks.
Oh, no shit.
And so then you see what happens when week 3 comes around and it's finally gone. It just dominates, does shit all over the place.
I feel like that stomach bug was called Jameis Winston, and I feel like it's going to be coming back.
No, Jameis is the man. I'm pissed at you.
Yeah, you should be.
Jameis is making me look good so far, so.
I got to hold to my guns. Like I said, I've yelled at myself
Jameis
so many
Winston
times.
Is better than Matt Ryan.
We need to do another podcast
and
and have that debate.
He'll have a better season this year as well.
All right, let's play some Who Am I wide receiver version here, DJ.
Who am I?
Petey Pob.
See, this is where we have drops like that. Like, I wish we were good enough and smart enough to, like, do anything.
Don't put we in there. I am good enough. I am smart enough.
Yeah, you put a drop in there next time so you can say, let's play another episode, like, let's play another blah, 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 and then you put in, who am I? And that would be money right there. You need to say it, and I'll just yell it. That'll be the drop.
We just did it. That's our version of the drop. Podcast listeners, we just crushed it. Tell me we didn't.
We did. Let's do it. Start over.
All right, DJ, here's the wide receiver version of this.
Start over. Introduce this again.
Okay, this is the Who Am I?
Nope, you got to stop before the Who Am I. I got to yell it.
Damn it. This is how bad we are at it. You tell me what to do.
Do it for tight ends. Do it for tight ends. We'll skip it.
Okay, now I gotta try to remember. I've been drinking these Orange Bush Lights again that we had that one time.
God damn it.
It gets you every time. As we both take a drink at the same time.
Wait, was there still the Orange Bush Lights from when I was there?
I got more.
Oh, good. Yeah. I was freaking out because I'm like, shit, I am an alcoholic.
No, I throw away a lot of Bush Light 30-pack containers. It's an issue. the people at the dump, because I have to take my garbage to an actual place, and we have to like separate our cardboard and everything. My cardboard is always just 30 packs.
That's it. I'm officially canceling your house. You have to take shit to the dump. You have to wave to people while you
Yep.
drive out there, and you have to avoid animals in the middle of the road and chickens and shit. Like, I can't. There's no time for that. I don't have time for waving at people. I cancel your house. It doesn't exist.
All right, well, I'm just going to have another beer, and then we're going to play the wide receiver version of.
Who am I?
It only took us 3 tries. We got it.
Nailed it.
All right, clue number 1. After posting double-digit fantasy points each of the first 3 weeks, I notched just 2 receptions for 6 yards last week.
Say the stats again.
Double-digit fantasy points each of the first 3 weeks, and then last week I had 2 catches for 6 yards.
I'm DeAndre Hopkins.
Oh, no. Another offer. Clue number 2. My opponent this week ranks 24th against the pass, despite recording 4 interceptions last week.
Plays the Seahawks this week. Does somebody play the Seahawks?
I'll tell you right now, you're going down a wrong trail.
Oh, I was trying to think of who had 4 interceptions. No, the Steelers?
I saw it in your eye. No, not the Steelers.
The Steelers have. I'm trying to think of. I remember somebody throwing a bunch of interceptions.
You're going to be mad at yourself here, too, after you get the third clue, because then you're going to be like, I literally talked about this guy about 15 minutes ago.
Oh, God.
Because clue number 3 was, I called out my quarterback after last week's game. Despite really all I said was the obvious, that you need to be able to run and pass to compete in the NFL.
Adam Thielen.
DJ, I am so just broken that he had like his worst career game since he's been like a full-time starter. 2 catches, 6 yards. I hate that. But here it is. Here's when opportunity is knocking. They haven't had those crazy-ass games this year. He's less than 7,000 on FanDuel. Being able to get Thielen, a guy that can easily go for 100+ and 2 touchdowns in this matchup for less than 7,000 opens up crazy possibilities for your fantasy lineup. They're going to bounce back. You said it. Kirk Cousins plays the shittiest in the big games. This isn't the big game. This is the shitty opponent. He's going to pop off. They're going to get back on track. This is their week. Like you said, who better against? This is the week. You can go with Thielen or Diggs. I just really think this is going to be a Thielen week because of what transpired. 2 catches, 6 yards. They're not going to let him like sit on that. They're going to force feed him. His high in targets this year is 8. I bet he gets 10 targets in this game.
Case Keenum is awful. He's so bad. Jim, I know this is probably a bad game to start Dwayne Haskins against the Patriots coming up, but after the last 2 games, the one where he just didn't know how to like hold on to a football at all and held it like he was a statue,
yes.
And then throwing interceptions against the Giants like it was going out of style. Just unbelievable. I know that's not who we're talking about, but it's ridiculous. And I already talked about Kirk Cousins, so obviously he has to throw it to somebody. And I have 2. You have Thielen, I have Diggs on a fantasy team. Like I'm hoping Diggs obviously benefits from it, but I mean I can see both of them.
Let me ask you this in regards to the Vikings. So they went to the NFC Championship game or the game before, whatever it was, against. Basically, what I'm saying is they made it that far in the playoffs with Case Keenum as their quarterback. They had some familiarity there. They had chemistry. They figured that they could just bring in a new guy. They brought in Kirk Cousins. They paid him all the money. They thought he was better. If Case Keenum was still the Vikings quarterback, do you think they would be better, equal, or worse than what they are right now?
I believe you're talking about 2 years ago against the Eagles when they had the miracle against the Saints.
When did the Eagles come into play here? Oh, yeah, when they got throttled by the Eagles in the championship game. Yep, you're right.
I'm just trying to save your ass from looking stupid.
Thank you.
What was the question now? Because I was so focused on you not understanding what was happening there.
If Case Keenum was the Vikings quarterback right now, would they be about the same as they are right now? Would they be better than they are with Cousins, or would they be worse than they are with Cousins?
They'd be better. I think he runs the play action game so much better than Kirk Cousins, and that's just not his type of offense. He just wants to run a shotgun and throw it around. And if you put his back to the defense, it's a hot mess for him, and he sucks.
If I'd have asked myself for this question a couple of years ago when they made the move to get Cousins, I would say, you know what? That's probably the right play. Cousins is a little bit better than Keenum. He'll probably do a few things that Keenum can't do, and he'll just make the team overall better. What I've taken away from this, though, is that sometimes like the skill isn't the only thing that matters. It's that fit, and it just felt like Case Keenum was the right fit. He's not a great quarterback by any means. I don't think anyone thinks he's a great quarterback. He's just such a better fit, I feel like, than what Cousins is, and they would have been farther off, both the salary cap, win-loss, just team morale. If they had just ended up with Case Keenum, that sounds crazy to say.
There are some guys in the league that have played out a shotgun their whole life or whatever like that. That's what they're used to.
Yeah.
That just don't like having their back turned to the. That's just a fact of the matter. There are some guys that do not like running like the play action out of the I form and having their back turned away from the receivers and then having to locate them. Like there's just guys like that. I think Kirk Cousins is one of those, and I think Case Keenum's one that loves it because it gives him more time and he feels more relaxed.
Oh, absolutely. And especially now if they would have like the healthy Dalvin Cook to use as like the play action weapon like that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they would be a dirty offense, but man, they were putting up pretty solid stats that year. So I give them
They
that.
were great.
Yeah. Let's go on to your tight end for the week.
I mean, I'm probably going to ruin something, but it's Tyler Eifert, 4,600 versus Arizona. They play Arizona worst against tight ends. I mean, that's the best bargain in the world. Like, Eifert hasn't been good by any means, and he doesn't play a ton, but you're going to deploy him against Arizona.
Yeah, let me jump in real quick. Let me do my my who am I version of the tight end.
Oh, shit.
Sorry, we already crushed it for the wide receiver. We didn't need to do it again because I only said I have one hint. I play against the Cardinals this week.
Yeah, I mean, that's all it is, right? I'm almost scared to do it because it seems like a lock. Like such a lock. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna use probably like in FanDuel. I might, since I'm spending no money on like Kelvin Ridley, little money on Aaron Jones. I feel like I'm gonna plug in a good tight end this week.
You could,
just because
yeah.
I don't know that I watched that offense last night, and that was Monday night. Watching the Bengals not give a shit with about 5 minutes left in the third quarter when they're down 21, when they could have like run a hurry up offense.
Made a move,
and then
yeah.
In the fourth quarter, just continue to run the ball and throw these shit screens that hadn't worked the entire game, and still not care. Everybody looks so. Even Aaron or even AJ Green on the fucking sideline was like, "Why? What is this team?
Yeah.
Get me out of here!" Like,
yeah.
It was awful. I hated it.
My maybe favorite logic that I've come up with for why I like Tyler Eifert at tight end this week is because if you're not using one of the top guys, and if you're looking at the main slate, you actually don't have all the top guys this week anyways at tight end. But if you're looking at the tight end, I personally think the tight end, if you're not using one of the big guys, is the hardest position to try to project on a week-to-week basis. So at $4,600, why not try the guy who plays the team that has given up the most points to fantasy tight ends all season long? Like, I feel like maybe I'm underthinking this one, but at the same point, I don't want to overthink. I'm just going to ride that wave until they prove to me that they can slow a tight end down even a little bit. And if they ever would, it would be this week for all the reasons you said about what's wrong with the Bengals offense. I have to go with them. And I just found this out today too. The Bengals are dead last in the NFL in rushing yards per game. And they had Joe Mixon, who was like first, second round, like fantasy talent. But me and you were both like, you need to look at these teams. You need to look at these offensive lines. And even just because this is the huge thing. He's the volume king. And it's your theory of, hey, just because you're going to get all this volume, you need more of a guarantee than that because, hey, maybe you're playing down by a bunch. Maybe you just can't simply move the ball. And that's what we're seeing from the Bengals. Watching that Monday night game was terrible. We loved it because we bet on the Steelers. But, man, as a Dolphins fan, I have the nerve to say that game was terrible.
I may have bet the over in that game, and that's another reason why I'm salty about that. I wanted to hit that parlay as well, and I was pretty upset about that.
Throwing interceptions in the end zone, running the ball, not doing hurry up offense.
Not even caring.
Those were all telltale signs that you had no chance of winning that parlay.
Just not caring. They just didn't care. It was one of our intern Logan texted me, and I sent you this text. And my favorite thing was Mason Rudolph ran off to the right, and it looked like he was gonna throw it to a receiver. Like he looked kind of confident, and he threw it, and it just went to nobody in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
and intern Logan texted me and goes, "This guy is throwing to wide receivers that aren't even there, and he's kicking their ass." That's how bad the Bengals were. It didn't matter where Mason Rudolph was throwing it. They were playing Jalen Samuels at fucking quarterback for probably 10 plays.
Oh, yeah.
Around 10 plays. That shows no confidence in Mason Rudolph. I think that's something they need to work on, because if they want to get past Big Ben, they need to let him air the ball out. They need to let him throw it downfield. They're not going to win that division. It's really going to come down to Cleveland and Baltimore. I think Baltimore's trash. So I think this is Cleveland's division. Honestly, that's just what I feel like at this point.
I do too.
I feel like Baltimore's just kind of getting more and more exposed, as I said they would be, and as I continue to be right, just because I'm the greatest predictor of all time. But I don't know. I don't even know where I started. I just got angry.
Baltimore's defense is going to keep them relevant, like you said. It's going to be down to them and the Browns, in my opinion. And I'm with you. I will take the Browns over them.
But is the Baltimore defense even good anymore? They had 2 good games against 2 shit teams, and now they've given up a bunch of yards on the ground. They lost Darius Smith. He's playing for Green Bay. They're affected by losing some of these guys that they just can't afford anymore. I don't know if they're even that good at this point.
That's a good way to put it as well. Like you said, when you play the Dolphins, your stats inflate greatly.
Yeah, the Dolphins and who was the other one? Was it the Giants or?
Was it the Cardinals? I can't remember who exactly it was now.
I think it was just 2 trash teams. It might have even been the Bengals. It doesn't even matter. It was a shit team. That's all I know.
Right. Well, let's go on to a couple of fantasy football listener questions here. This one is for a flex spot in a half PPR. You've got Mecole Hardman versus the Colts. A.J. Brown, last week's breakout, but he's playing the Bills. Or you have Tyler Lockett, which is a Thursday night game, versus the Rams.
Well, we saw what happened to the Rams. Let me start with A.J. Brown. I'm not playing anybody against Buffalo in a Tennessee offense where fucking Marcus Mariota is the quarterback after a good game. No chance. They're going to have a terrible game. Terrible game. That game is going to be 3-0. If the under is going to be 35, I'm going to take it. I'm not even kidding. I don't know what the under is, but I'm already betting it.
That could be a brutal game. That game.
It could be 28.
The only thing missing from that game is snow or some terrible storm. That's the only thing that's going to be missing to complete that shit show.
It could be 28. I'm still going to take it. Mecole Hardman, he's hit or miss, even more so than Tyreek Hill ever was. He relies on one big catch, right? That's kind of what he's done this year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 100% going Lockett. He is Mr. Consistent for Russell Wilson. He's going up against a Rams D who just got blitzed by Jameis Winston. Jared Goff is... I don't know about Jared Goff. But yeah, it's Lockett here. I don't even think it's close.
Yeah, I'm going to go Lockett here just because I had to use Hardman last week, and he scored me negative 1.7 points and literally lost me a matchup. So fuck that guy.
He fumbled.
Here's a new one for you, DJ. Some listener trade advice. Got offered Jared Goff for LaShawn McCoy. The league is a half PPR league. His current running backs are Le'Veon Bell, Christian McCaffrey, Sony Michel, Jalen Samuels, and current quarterbacks are Stafford and Dalton. So knowing that you have Stafford and Dalton and a plethora of running backs, would you give up Shady to get Jared Goff?
I think with the weapons that this person has specifically, I would not make that trade. You have too much depth at the running back position.
But he's getting rid of a running back.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's getting Goff?
He'd be getting Goff.
Oh, I read it wrong. Then, yes, I would do it, because I think your quarterbacks stink, and you have a guy who's going to be I don't think is the greatest, but he's going to be involved in high-scoring games almost no matter what happens at this point. And Shady's in a split backfield of 3 different guys when Damian comes back. He's not getting the goal line carries, as we saw with Darrell Williams last week. I thought was weird.
Right.
And like you said, you have Bell, CMC, Sony, Samuels. So yeah, I mean, I would. It's tough because you don't want to get rid of depth, but you already have enough. It seems. I'd consider it with that. Quarterbacks are still important, right?
Yeah, see, I would do it here because like all the reasons you said, but then you have Stafford and Dalton, which means you have Stafford. And
Yes.
if you have Stafford and Goff, you're probably going to end up just platooning them. You're going to end up playing it off of matchups.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a weekly matchup like debate every week. Like in my opinion, between those two quarterbacks. But if you keep Shady, you're going to have a hell of a running back debate every week. This way, at least you're upgrading at the quarterback position, and you're just making your running back decision a little bit easier. And like you said, Shady's in like a basically like a three-man rotation right now, and he's not getting the goal line carries. And damn it, Kansas City is not going to get stuck to the 1 yard line every damn possession in a game. Like Patrick Mahomes is going to throw for 3 touchdowns in a game more often than he's going to throw for 0. So that whole running back getting all the touchdown thing isn't going to happen every single week. I would sell Shady right now and take Goff.
Hey, college basketball is back. North Carolina just got a 5-star point guard. Okay, so
wait. Speaking of that, because I was going to ask you this in just general conversation one day, but since you brought up college basketball, I saw on the bottom line like a couple of weeks ago that Georgia Tech, of all programs, was handed down like probation, getting kicked out of the tournament if they would ever even make it for the next year or two, getting scholarships taken away. If Georgia Tech basketball is doing illegal things, what are Duke and North Carolina and all those guys doing? This is bullshit.
It's legacy, baby. It's legacy. Michael Jordan. That's all we do.
MJ, ceiling is the roof.
I'm going back to your golf Stafford talk. Stafford, actually, I honestly think you said toss up every week. I actually think you're going to be playing golf 75% compared to Stafford 25%. And here's my reasons, and I think you're going to agree with it. Stafford has to play Green Bay's defense,
True,
Bears defense, and the Vikings defense. And then you're probably going to match up another 1 or 2 good defenses throughout the season. That's, half the season already right there. You played against 3 of the best pass defenses in the league.
Yeah.
That's already a tough matchup. So you've got, Stafford's going to have a lot of games that are like 4 than 15 points this year.
And now that you bring that up too, if your other option, like if there's truly no other free agents available and you're truly having to roll with Andy Dalton and you're going to end up probably wanting to bench Stafford in all those games that you just mentioned, I don't think that you want the ball in Andy Dalton's hand in all those games. So I'm pulling the trigger on this. I think we're both like 100% all in on that trade.
Yeah, how many interceptions did Dalton throw last night? 15? Or no, how many times did he get stacked?
Yes, he was on his ass so much, man. They weren't blocking. That line doesn't block.
Oh. And poor Deshaun, speaking of sacks, I've been a Deshaun Watson hater, and I'm kind of softening it up on him. I'm more of an offensive line hater for the Houston Texans because they just can't get it. 6 sacks? He has no chance. It doesn't matter who the fuck he is.
They need to trade 2 more first-round picks for a right tackle now.
Yeah, it's just not pretty.
So bad.
He's got to be more frustrated than Adam Thielen right now.
Yeah. You have anything else you want to add to this, or should we call it a day and let people wait until our gambling podcast comes out later this week?
Let's just go watch the Brewers play. Go Cubs, go.
Brewers Nationals NL wildcard game. There's only one October. We're on Twitter at LoadedBox. Check out our website, loadedboxpodcast.com. All of our articles, all of our podcasts, everything you need is right there. Next episode, as I just said, will be our Week 5 game-by-game and against the spread picks. We're available anywhere that you listen to a podcast, so make sure you subscribe, rate, and review. DJ, send us away.
Bye!
That was a good one.